So here's a scramble to illustrate some of the chaining effect that you would use for the blind solving with the old Pachman method. I'll put the scramble up here and also in the description. So the first thing we do is we look at the orientation we want. Since there's no center and no indication really of what face should be what, I like to start with this piece already solved. So I find where the green, orange, yellow piece is. I know it goes here because I like to solve with the orientation green at the front and white at the top, which means orange is over here. So this piece is already in its place. So now when I do my tracing steps, I look at the sticker that's in the buffer position, and it's the white, orange, green QB, which we know goes here. Specifically, it's the green sticker, which is this piece, and that is an I. So I would memorize, but for right now, I'm going to just write down an I. Will you be able to see that? All right. So I goes here. So the sticker that is already in the I position is on the white, red, and blue piece. We know that piece goes back here. And specifically, it's the red sticker, which goes over here at position N. So now I will write down N. And I see what sticker is there. So this QB is the red, blue, and yellow, which goes down here, because we know the back is blue and this side is red. So specifically, this red sticker goes into this position, which we know is O. So I will write down O. And now the O sticker is white, red, and green. We know that piece goes, this is the white side, the red side, and the green. So that piece goes here. Specifically, the red goes over here. We know that is position M. So we'll write that down. Now we look at this piece. It's yellow, so we know it's going to go on the bottom. It's orange, it's go over that side, and it's blue, so it's going to go at the back. But specifically, we're looking at the blue sticker. So that goes in this position, but at the back. And we know that is position S. So we will write that down. And then we look at that, and that is white, blue, and orange, which happens to be the buffer sticker. Now, I didn't mention that, well, if it's a buffer sticker, we don't need to remember a letter for it. So you might think we would be done, but we look around and actually we see that this piece is in the right slot. It's just oriented incorrectly. The yellow needs to be on the bottom, the green needs to be here, and the red needs to be over here. So we need to do what's called start a new cycle. We could pick any of those to start with. So I'll just pick V. So we'll start with V, so I'll write that down. I also like to put a little, just a hyphen to know I've started a new cycle. And the sticker that's in V is the green piece that goes obviously right here. So it goes here. This is position K. So I'll write that down. And we know we have completed all of the pieces. So those are our letters. One way I can tell when I've completed all of the pieces is by actually holding the cube as I've done the pieces. So we know this one down here with my left thumb is already solved because we started with that. The buffer doesn't count, so I can hold it. It's hard to hold without using. Don't pay attention to this hand right now. So our first letter was I and then N. So I is this cube, so we have that one. So I'll put a finger there, and then N, which was this cube, so I'll put a finger there. And then we had O, which was that one, and we had M, which was that one, and we had S, which is that one at the back. So I see all four on the left side are taken care of, and these three over here are taken care of, which is why I knew that I had one left and it happened to be flipped. So that kind of helps me figure out if there are still pieces that need attention when I'm coming up with my letters. So now that we have our letters, if we were actually doing this blind, we would not have written this down. We would have committed it to memory. And we would have come up with some mnemonic to remember it, or used some memory techniques like a memory palace, or come up with words. And I might go into that a little bit later. But basically, we would have committed this set of letters to memory. So now what we need to do for each letter, we need to figure out where that sticker is, and we need to move it first with a setup move to the buffer position, to the target position. Then we need to do our switching algorithm, and then we need to move it back to where it was. So the first letter is I. So we know this is sticker I. So I want this sticker to be in the target position, which we know is down here, because my algorithm swaps this piece with this piece. So what I would do, and I can't disturb what's up here in the buffer position with these moves, so somehow I need to move this I down into my target position. So I know that if I rotate this face one turn that way, and then rotate this slice down, that puts it right where I want it. So the moves I just made are called setup moves, and I'm going to have to remember to undo those after I do the swap. So now I will do the swap. And undo the moves I made. So the move I made was first to rotate it to here and then move it down. So I will now move it back up and rotate it back to where it was. And you can see that I is now in the correct place. So now we just move on to the next letter. Our next letter in the sequence is N. So we find where N is. We know that is this sticker. We need to get it down to the target location before we can do the swap. So the way I do it is I rotate this side over 90 degrees, and then I do an F move and I move that down to where it is. Perfectly situated there in the target position. So now I can do the swapping algorithm. And I need to remember to undo what I did before. So I bring that back up and bring it back over to where it needs to be. And it's now in the correct position. The next letter we had remembered, or in this case we had written down, is an O. So we find where the O is. This is the O. We need to bring it down to here. So the way I do that is I rotate this piece 180 degrees. There it is. And then I bring this down with an F. So now it's in the right place for the swap. We do the swap. And we bring it back up to where it was. And you can see that has put that piece in the correct place. We continue with other letters. We have M next. So M is this one. We know we can just move it down to here by doing an F move. So it positions it there. And after doing several of these, you'll learn these setup moves. So we now do the swap. And we have to return it to where it was. So we undo the move, and now it's in its proper place. The next letter we'd remembered was an S. The S is back here. So I know, and like I said before, we can't bother anything here in the buffer position. So we couldn't move this in any way to move it over to where we want to go. So instead, what we'll do is we'll move this slice this way, and that puts that there. And then if we do an F prime, it moves it exactly where we need it to be. So now we'll do the swap. And we'll undo our moves. So the last thing we had done was that, and then we had moved it over from there. So we can now see that it's in its proper place. We know from just my own notation on here with the little hyphen that a new cycle is starting. It's not important necessarily to remember, but if you are looking at the cube like we are now and not actually blindfolded, we can see that we have to start a new cycle because the sticker that's in the buffer position is actually the buffer. And so we won't be moving it anywhere. So that's why when we were memorizing, we arbitrarily started somewhere else and worked with moving that. So what we did is we chose V. And a lot of the reason I started with that when I start a new cycle is because V is already in the target position. So there's no setup move to do and then undo. So we simply do our algorithm. And we don't have to undo anything. Now what that has done is it has swapped, of course, what was here, which was one of the buffer sides, with the piece that was here. It was in the correct place, just oriented wrong. So now, according to what we had memorized or written down, we have a K. So what we want to do is take the position K, which is this, get it down to here. So the way I do it is I rotate this slice first, and then I rotate the bottom slice over. So that puts that there. We do the swap. And now we have to put it back. So the way I had done it before was move it down and then over. So what we want to do now is move it back to where it was and move it back up. And we're done with our memorization, and we're done with the cube.